As Europe prepares to debate a quota system for accepting refugees, the migrants continue to make the perilous journey across the Mediterranean Sea. Why has child mortality dropped in Uganda's capital city? We'll have details. And a groundbreaking American reality show falters at the elimination round. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Tonight, heavy gunfire and tear gas filled the air as police clashed with stone-throwing protesters in Burundi's capital Tuesday during a demonstration against President Pierre Nkurunziza's bid for a third term. Police fired their shots during clashes in Butarare district where hundreds of protesters had gathered. Protesters grabbed one policewoman and beat her up, accusing her of firing at them. Police officers had to battle protesters in a bid to rescue their colleague. She was later released after sustaining injuries. Well, now the growing tensions in Burundi have sent thousands of citizens fleeing. The UN says more than 50,000 Burundians, mostly women and children, have arrived in neighboring Rwanda, Tanzania, or the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, for more insight into the situation, Karine De Groot, UNHCR spokesperson, joins us live via Skype from Geneva, Switzerland. Welcome, Karine.
Thank you very much.
Now, the UNHCR has described the situation in the Central African region as a potential humanitarian crisis. Why?
Largely because of the numbers of people leaving the country. We're seeing now more than 57,000 refugees who have crossed into mostly Rwanda and Tanzania. Smaller numbers in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as you mentioned, and just the sheer volume of people moving and the short time space. This all started less than a month ago, in mid-April. So yes, the movement of people crossing the border and the condition they're arriving in. Many fled at the moment with very few belongings. So giving them assistance and moving them is quite a challenge.
Okay, now in a few words, what are the immediate needs of these people?
Immediately, we're moving people away from the border, both in Rwanda and in Tanzania. People are being moved to a refugee camp where they can be registered and receive proper assistance. We're now talking about 10,000 people who are stranded on Karongo Island in Tanganyika Lake, and getting these people off the island to Kigoma and later to the refugee camp so that they can get medical assistance and shelter is a top priority. Now,
the number I mentioned earlier was 50,000. You're talking about 57,000. Are you seeing a trend of, an increase in the number of those people that are escaping Burundi?
We see different patterns. Initially, there was a large movement towards Rwanda that seems to have stabilized a little bit, maybe also because people find it more difficult to leave Burundi because they're being stopped by roadblocks and harassment. And as of late, we've seen a bigger movement into Tanzania since that country opened its borders on the 4th of May.
And very quickly, what's your plea as UNHCR?
For all countries to keep the borders open. It's really important that people are allowed to leave Burundi so that they're not stopped inside Burundi and that they are accepted by the refugee hosting country, Rwanda, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Thank you very much, Karine, for joining us today.
Well, thank you.
Karine De Groot is the UNHCR spokesperson speaking to us live via Skype from Geneva, Switzerland. Now, a strong earthquake struck Nepal early Tuesday afternoon, killing at least 35 people, triggering landslides and toppling buildings in a country still dealing with a devastating quake that hit less than 3 weeks ago. An official with Nepal's Home Ministry said more than 1,000 people were injured. A number of the deaths occurred in the town of Chautara, where the new earthquake caused several buildings to collapse. The U.S. Geological Survey says the 7.3 magnitude quake was centered about 80 kilometers east of the capital, Kathmandu. Within an hour, 6 aftershocks hit the area with the strongest at magnitude 6.3. The epicenter Tuesday was about 100 kilometers from the center of a 7.8 magnitude earthquake that struck on Nepal April 25th, killing more than 8,000 people and leaving thousands homeless. Now to West Africa, Nigeria's National Emergency Management Agency says it has nearly completed evacuation of over 6,000 Nigerians from Niger. Gloria Ume Ezoeka of Channels TV visited some of the returnees in the hospital.
In the wake of the terrible spate of abduction by the terrorist group Boko Haram, hundreds of thousands of families and livelihoods have been wrecked and destroyed. Here at the heart of Yobe State, one of the troubled regions here in the northeast, traumatized families are still struggling with the pains of the terrorist attacks. Almost 1 week since the National Emergency Management Agency received 6,000 returnees from Niger Republic. Since then, the agency began the arduous task of documentation. Clearly, many of them were tired, hungry and sick, including women who gave birth in transit. The resilience by the returnees after the ordeal with the terrorist group naturally draws emotion, but not as much as the state of health of some of the children who have only managed to escape being killed.
Some of the younger ones, the women that have pregnant are delivered on the way, some of them die. And some of the little children die. The one that cannot be able to go, they die on the way. Even before you even take a transport from Gigimi to Difa, they are talking about 100,000 for one trip. You see? So all these things that are going to see is that the Niger have already, the government of Niger, or I'm going to say is the president, I don't know. But the president is that they have already dig a hole that they are just expecting it to fall, but God just help us. Because that 3 months they give to us, they're just expecting that 3 months they should level us down completely. But they see that the Boko Haram did not harm us, so they decide to say, okay, let everybody move with their empty-handed. Yes. Even a cows is important more than we human beings in Niger, because the way they treat us.
So far, NEMA says it has evacuated over 4,500 people from the transit camps.
The area is too hot. We decided to look for nearby bridges where we will be giving them in case of we wanted to use to treat diarrhea and other diseases. We have collaborated with the local government Red Cross section to please arrange for emergency latrine pits, which will be dug soon around these places so that they will not defecate around.
Some of the returnees, however, say they cannot go home as they are still recuperating in the hospital. Halima Ali, a mother of 2 who spoke to us, narrated her ordeal during an encounter with the Boko Haram sect.
Boko Haram sun kama Gadira, suna harbi da soja, suna jefa wuta. To wannan yarinya tana hannun mu, bindiga da sun yi mun ce su ba mu ruwa mu sha, da sun sake bindiga aka shine mun yarda wannan yarinya a wurin wuta. Su ma soja din sun doka yarinya din kuma sun ba mu. To mun yi gudu mun haya mun je Gigimi. Sun ce kare mu shiga hanya ne, ma moto yana sauke mu a jeji. Wayansu sun haifu hanya suna bari yaro ma, wani ma sun suguna, haka mata ta suguna kin zo kin daga zaki ga ta mutu baki a bude.
As some of the returnees remain in the hospital in Gaidam, Yobe State, the locals around and their vigilante group say they're not unmindful of the strategies of the terrorist group Boko Haram and would face them head on. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, now to Europe, where a row is looming over proposed quotas for taking in refugees. Germany is bearing by far the highest burden with 200,000 places for asylum seekers, and that wants European partners now to share the quotas. Meanwhile, Amnesty International says horrific abuses by militias and smugglers in Libya is driving many migrants over the Mediterranean to Europe. And Ridgewell has a report.
As Europe's politicians continue to debate immigration, the boats keep on coming. At Reggio Calabria in southern Italy, over 400 migrants were brought ashore by German naval vessels. Germany is also bearing the greatest burden of refugees. Over 400,000 asylum seekers are expected to arrive in the country this year, double last year's total. It prompted German Chancellor Angela Merkel to hold an emergency summit Friday, in which she called for European partners to share responsibility.
There will be no alternative to European solidarity to get to a solution.
Hundreds of refugees pass through Italy's Milan station en route to Germany every week. Volunteer aid worker Susi Iovieno offers them food, clothing and advice. She says Europe must make reforms.
To create a humanitarian corridor, give the possibility to these people to apply for an entry visa legally at the different embassies in the neighboring countries like Lebanon, Jordan and Turkey. That would help avoid the illegal transport and risky trips to Europe.
Europe will debate such proposals Wednesday, including a quota system for member states for accepting asylum seekers. Hungary, which is on the route for migrants coming from the Balkans, is one of several nations to have already rejected quotas. Prime Minister Viktor Orban gave this blunt response.
We don't want to see immigrants in Hungary. If other EU members ask our opinion, I say to them that I think you should not want them either.
Many European states blame the chaos in Libya for the influx of boats and have called for warships along the Libyan coast. The interim prime minister of one of two rival governments in Libya, the National Salvation Government, rejected such proposals.
What we want from the European Union is to deal directly with the National Salvation Government in Tripoli and cooperate with it and provide it with the capabilities to curb migration.
Human rights group Amnesty International says the migrants are subjected to horrendous conditions in Libya, which is driving many to escape across the Mediterranean.
They face labor exploitation when they're forced to work without any pay. They face indefinite detention for migration purposes. Inside those detention centers, they do face widespread torture and other ill treatment, including beatings with sticks, whips, cables.
This grim reminder of the risks migrants face emerged over the weekend. Underwater footage taken by Italian authorities shows the boat in which over 700 people are thought to have drowned last month off Libya. Many bodies are still trapped inside. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, good news in Kampala about children's health. Stay with us.
This is Greenbeat.
As the world becomes more wired, the world becomes more cluttered. It's not that computers and mobile phones can't be recycled, it's just that they're not easily recycled, as they can contain toxic compounds like lead and mercury.
And the problem is that there are unscrupulous people who are exporting this to countries overseas, who are harvesting the components and letting some of the PCBs and some of the other heavy metals just get washed into the local environment.
Washington Attorney James Berger recently co-authored an editorial urging Congress to pass a law curbing the export of electronic waste, not only because it can lead to serious health and environmental hazards, says Berger, but because some of it comes back to the U.S. in the form of counterfeits.
And that's really a dangerous national security issue. The Senate Armed Services Committee found counterfeit chips in some vital defense applications.
Worldwide, people generate somewhere between 20 and 50 million metric tons of e-waste every year. For VOA's Greenbeat, I'm Rebecca Ward.
Well, it's time now for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Vincent. The World Health Organization says new human diseases should be given socially acceptable names which do not offend people and countries or mention animals. The WHO says Middle East respiratory syndrome and Spanish flu are examples of what to avoid because they mention specific locations. Instead, names should contain generic terms that are easy to pronounce. The international organization says several new human infectious diseases had emerged in recent years, and some had stigmatized certain cultures, regions, and economies. The WHO has produced advice for scientists and the media. Experts warn antibiotics-resistant typhoid is spreading across Africa and Asia and poses a major global health threat. Researchers from the Wellcome Trust have been tracking the hard-to-treat infection. They analyzed bacterial samples from 63 countries. Nearly half of them were impervious to standard antibiotic treatments. They say over-reliance on these drugs is to blame. The countries, mostly in Asia and Africa, where typhoid is endemic, had a multi-drug resistant strain of typhoid called H58. Researchers say it is replacing regular typhoid that have been around for centuries. Increasingly, doctors now need to use other, more expensive and less readily available antibiotics to treat typhoid fever, a disease that kills around 200,000 people each year. The research was published in the journal Nature Genetics. A new research conducted by the University College London says regular blood tests can detect 80% of ovarian cancers before the point at which women normally would be diagnosed. Ovarian tumors are often deadly as they are caught too late. The cancer is difficult to pick up as symptoms, including abdominal pain, persistent bloating, and difficulty eating, are common in other conditions. Ovarian tumors spew out high levels of a chemical called CA125, which is already used as a test if patients have symptoms. The researchers performed annual blood tests on postmenopausal women and tracked changes in the levels of CA125 over time. The first results of the 14-year trial of more than 46,000 women suggest tumors can be detected early. Now, child mortality has dropped in Uganda's capital city. Observers say it is partly due to Kampala's free maternal health care and better equipped health centers. Inside Uganda's second busiest hospital, mothers rest in the maternity ward as they admire their newborns. The international non-governmental organization Save the Children says child death in Kampala dropped faster than in any other African city between 2006 and 2011, despite a large influx of refugees from war-torn neighboring states. Esther Kabumo, a refugee from Congo, came to the Kisenyi Health Center in Kampala to have her baby. She is recuperating after a cesarean section delivery.
We're happy because they welcome everyone without discrimination. They treat everyone the same. If you don't have money to buy medicine, they take care of you. There is no problem here. That is why we're happy to come here.
The UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, says Uganda cut child mortality by 4.3% a year between 1990 and 2013, just below the 4.4% annual reduction needed to achieve a Millennium Development Goal on lowering the number of deaths of children under 5.
The solutions that we're talking about, if we want to reduce maternal and child mortality, are really basic and within our reach. Take an example, we expect a mother to be able to be informed and sensitized to go for antenatal care and during pregnancy for at least a minimum of 4 times. And that is, if the mother comes to the facility, we expect the mother to be able to access basic medicines for malaria during pregnancy, to get immunizations for tetanus, to be able to be examined and also have the reassurance and motivation to come and deliver in the facility at the time of birth.
Kisenyi Hospital delivers 600 babies a month. The facility symbolizes the shift in Uganda, which has seen the country invest more money in the healthcare system to make it accessible for the poor. Healthcare has been free in Uganda since 2001.
With all the services we offer here, automated lab with all the powerful machines we have, the theater, the neonatal, the scan, circumcision theater, all the sections you visited here are basically free of charge.
Government outreach efforts that encourage people to seek health services via churches, mosques, the radio and door-to-door visits by health workers have also supported Uganda's success.
We normally encourage mothers to deliver in the hospitals, safe places. Let them go and attend antenatal clinics so that they get to know what is going on. Even we encourage their partners, their husbands, to escort them.
Save the Children says under 5 mortality among Uganda's urban poor fell by 29% between 1995 and 2006. And that's our Africa Health Report for today. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lino, thanks. Now be sure to watch Lino Mudu's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday, right here on Africa 54. Well, when you think about bicycles, you probably think of metal and rubber. Not anymore. How about bamboo? Africa 54's Paul Dio is here with the details. Paul?
Thanks, Vincent. A startup firm, Boomers International, a bicycle production company in Kumasi, Ghana, is generating a lot of interest and is rapidly becoming the leading producer of bamboo bicycles in West Africa. I recently visited the farm, and here is more. People are likely to ask, what kind of bike is that? And the answer is, it's a bamboo bike. An improved version that was first unveiled in 2009. For those who dare to be bold, this bamboo bike has a striking design, one that commands attention. Voice of America was recently given behind-the-scenes exclusive access, so let's take it for a road test. Boomers International is a subsidiary social enterprise of the Yansu project. The company is located in the Ashanti region of Ghana, and it specializes in producing bamboo-framed bicycles which are exported to countries around the world. Kwebena Danso is the CEO of Boomers International.
Our whole focus is to train rural youth with the skills of building bamboo bicycles to give them employment, and also be able to market this to support both on the international and the local market.
Bicycles made from bamboo have been around for more than a century, but the demand has only increased in recent years. Today, Boomers International is seizing the opportunity to make use of this abundant natural resource, and the company is investing in the sustainability and the development of the local communities.
For every bike that is sold, a child in the rural area also gets education. So we're trying to promote education, support rural community development through education, empower these children in the rural communities by the sales of our bikes.
John Mafo is the head of the technical team at Boomers International.
I feel very happy because without this company, I never thought I would be even that place, or people would be very interested in me in that way. So I'm very happy.
Some other apprentices have had the pleasure of being trained by Danso, who has given them the skills they need to build eco-friendly bicycles.
Okay, I take the inventory here, the tools they will be needing at the workshop. Maybe they will be needing hardener to spray the bikes. I give it to them and I record it.
Kwebena Danso says bamboo is the ideal crop to work with. It can be sustainably harvested and grows fast, without needing pesticides. The process requires the bamboo to be dry for 6 months and reinforced with carbon fiber. All the bicycles are handmade, which is reflected in the price tag.
This is a complete assembled bike made in Ghana here. This is the fork, the steer, and then we've also provided light in case you are riding in the evening or at night.
Boomers International is already planning to expand the brand to sell on the local market. Bike analysts say Ghana's fast-growing population and rapid urban development means there are more cars on the road. But having locally manufactured bikes could ease the crush of people using public transportation. In my next report, I will showcase a latent DC-10 restaurant that was once Ghana Airways. But now this national treasure has been turned into a state-of-the-art restaurant where locals and tourists come to taste their authentic Ghanaian dishes. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thanks a lot, Paul. Good stuff there. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, saying goodbye to a singing competition that forever changed American television. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. It's a surprise elimination. Fox is pulling the plug on American Idol after 15 seasons. The music reality show that was once the most popular on U.S. television will return in January. But the network announced that it will be a farewell season for the series. Idol was the top-rated show on television for 8 consecutive seasons, reaching a high point with an average of nearly 31 million viewers in 2006. Idol's famous alumni include Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, and Jennifer Hudson. Well, next up, everything old is new again. It was a game changer for many, bringing the joys of computer gaming into the home for the first time. Now the popular 1980s games console, the ZX Spectrum, is getting set to make a comeback. Thanks to a successful crowdfunding campaign on website Indiegogo, Retro Computers raised the 100,000 British pounds required to return their dreams into a reality. Now, the revamped as ZX Spectrum will, for some, conjure fond memories of hours spent playing titles like Manic Miner and Donkey Kong, like these players at a London arcade called the Heart of Gaming. Well, and finally, how can you make the symphony cool inside this state-of-the-art industrial space featuring high-tech lighting and sound? Mixologists are busy pouring cocktails for a 20 and 30-something crowd. San Francisco's newest music venue called Soundbox looks a lot like hip Vegas-style nightclub, that is until the classical music starts. With an average audience age over 60 years old, the San Francisco Symphony decided to create a more casual second venue to attract a new, younger audience. Mobile devices are not only allowed, they are encouraged. Instead of a printed program, attendees download a smartphone application to learn more about each performance. So far, every Soundbox performance has sold out, and that is what is trending, and that is our show. Have a good night.
Real talk, real issues. The Real Africa. It's time to get the scoop. Beginning on VOA, May 18th. Find your time zone and get the scoop.